I'm now going to show you how to Kitchener stitch the heel of your slipper closed. So we have finished the toe. This is going to be the cuff of your slipper, which will get folded down into itself. We have gone ahead and knit the heel. It's a fairly shallow heel on this slipper, so it's not a huge heel. And now it's time to Kitchener stitch the heel closed. There are a lot of tutorials for Kitchener stitch, but I always think seeing it an extra time or two has never hurt anyone. So the Kitchener stitch, you are going to start with 2 steps, the setup steps that you will do one time, and then you'll do the same 4 steps of the Kitchener stitch over and over again. So to start off, you are going to work through the stitch on the needle that is closest to you, and you are going to have threaded your working yarn onto a tapestry needle. You're going to take that tapestry needle and go through that front stitch as if to purl. Put that needle through as if to purl, and leave that front stitch on. So leave that stitch on your front needle, and you can just pull the working yarn all the way through. Now you are going to move on to the stitch on the back needle, the one farther away from you, and you are going to put your tapestry needle through as if to knit and pull that all the way through. Those were your 2 setup steps. Now you're going to do the same 4 steps over and over again. I say them as a little chant in my head, and that is knit, off, purl, on. So we knit the first, put our tapestry needle in the first stitch as if to knit and slide that stitch off our needle. Put our tapestry needle in the second stitch as if to purl and leave that stitch on our needle. Now we're done with the stitches on the front needle for a minute, so I like to pull that needle out so that those stitches, those remaining stitches, don't accidentally fall off. And now we're going to be working on the stitches on our back needle, and we are going to put our needle in as if to purl, purl off, knit on, and pull our yarn all the way through. As you're pulling your yarn, do make sure that the extra yarn down here that you're pulling through does not get up and wrap around your needle at all and add stitches. One more time, those 4 steps are knit and slide it off, purl and leave it on, purl and slide it off, knit, knit and leave it on. Pull that all the way through, and you are just going to do that Kitchener stitch all the way across until you have no loops left on your needle. When you get to the very end, you'll have 1 stitch on each needle. You are going to do the steps that you can do, so you will knit and slide this last stitch off. The next step would be to purl another stitch on that same needle, but there is not another one there to do, so you simply skip that step and move on to purl the stitch on the last needle, and then you cannot knit and leave it on because there's none there, and that's when you'll be finished with that. You can see the Kitchener stitch makes it look as though you have simply knitted across the curve here. It does take a little bit of practice in terms of how tight to pull your working yarn to get your gauge exactly right across that corner. But that's how you're going to use the Kitchener stitch to close the heel of this slipper.